Well, here's Brother Peter one more time, tidbits from the Word. And we are in chapter 5 of the book of Joshua. If you have a Bible or can get a hold of a Bible, you need to get it out. And you need to look at it. And you need to see that in chapter 5 of the book of Joshua is the elect and of the miracles in the Jordan for the Canaanites. And there were miracles that were done through the Israelites when they drove the Canaanites out. And the Israelites, Joshua was elected by God to come and take the land over, to move where Moses had left off. And then they as they came on, the Lord himself revealed himself to Joshua. Now, God doesn't reveal himself to just everybody. He reveals himself to his chosen. Joshua was chosen of God to take the place of Moses. And there was a time when the Lord said, I need to go visit Joshua. I need to say some things to him, and I need to reconfirm and make sure that he feels happy and satisfied, and that he's going to have the power that he needs to go forward to do what he's going to do. And we saw first here that they had a change in their diet. They had been eating manna for years and years. And then they had the Passover, which is something Israel did. The Passover was from when, back in Egypt, when the death angel came and visited, the Lord said to the children of Israel, so their firstborn wouldn't be killed, to kill a lamb, sacrifice it, take the blood from the lamb, each person in their own house, for their own self. Now, they couldn't do it for their neighbor, couldn't do it for others. They had to do it for themselves. Put the blood on the side post and on the lintel. That's above the door. And they put the 3 spots of blood there. And when the death angel came, he saw the blood. What does that show you, Brother Peter? That showed you that the death angel was in person. That showed you that he had eyes he could see. That shows you that he had sight and he knew exactly what he was doing. And he came in there and he came by those children of Israel. By the way, the entrance into Egypt was blocked by the children of Israel. The children of Israel had the good land. They were given the fertile land down by the river, Euphrates down there. They were given that land, land of Goshen down there. They were given that for their own possession while they were there in Israel. It's amazing to me how God took this little tribe, gave them the best of the land down there where the gardens were. Well, you say they had to work. Yes, they did. They grew the gardens. They grew the garlics and the leeks. They grew the food for the Egyptians. But they also ate the fat of the land. Themselves had the fat of the land to eat. They had the cattle. The Egyptians thought it was a curse to be a shepherd or to be a cattle rancher or anything, and they wouldn't have anything to do with that. So the children of Israel had all of the good in their hands. They had it there. So here they come now, and Joshua is leading them, and they've been eating manna for years. And look at what it says here in verse 11 of chapter 5. And it said they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the self-same day. And the manna ceased on the morrow, and after that they had eaten the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan. Now remember, they came in to the land of milk and honey. Joshua brought them in to the land of milk and honey. And no more did God have to put the manna down there for them. Now they were crossing over a new bridge, in a sense. They were coming into a place to where they had to continue now to sow the seed of the corn, to plant the gardens again, to do what they did when they were in Egypt. Now they had gone 40 years on the manna and everything. And now they've come into this new land. Now, God, the commander-in-chief, makes an appearance. God had been 40 years with them in the wilderness. Their shoes did not wear out. They wore their clothes. Did not wear out. God had protected them from the sun with a cloud during the day. He had protected them from the cool at night with a pillar of fire. He had gone before them. He had gone behind them. He had gone with them. He was in the tabernacle that he told them to build in the wilderness. When they moved the tabernacle, when the cloud moved, the Shekinah glory of God, when the cloud moved, they had to move the tabernacle under the cloud. So there were some 39 times, I understand, that they moved the tabernacle. And as they moved the tabernacle, why would they move it so many times? Well, there's 2.5, 3 million people when they started, and in those days, birth control was not considered. Having the more that you could have, the more you could have, was considered the way to do. So they had big, large families. And in those large families, they outgrew the piece of property they were on for a few minutes, for a day or two, or for a while. They had to, on their swords and on their plowshares and on their stuff, they had a way to dig a pit for the waste that they would have for that day. But it didn't take long for 3.5 million people or so to fill up the land with waste and to fill up the land with garbage. Just imagine if in the city of the United States of America, in one of the largest cities, like for instance Atlanta or Boston or whatever, and you didn't have a garbage collector come around for a few days. Man, it wouldn't take very long, and you would have so much garbage that you wouldn't be able to move. And this was the children of Israel's little dilemma too. They got to where it got nasty and filthy real quick. So they had to move. And they depleted the grass where they were. The cattle and the horses and the camels and all of the animals and the chickens and the ducks and the geese and everything was there, had to eat. Well, it wouldn't take long, and the grass was depleted. So they had to move. So let's be logical about the thing as well as spiritual. And they had to move often. And as they moved, God said, I'm going to go down and I'm going to visit with Joshua. Verse 13. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes, and looking, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us, or for our adversaries? And verse 14 says this in chapter 5. It said, and he said, now this is God talking to Joshua, Nay, but as the captain of the host of the Lord am I come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, What saith my Lord unto his servant? Now listen, you want to know if this is God or not? Listen to what is said next. Same thing that was said to Moses now, when Moses met the Lord face to face at the burning bush. And the captain of the Lord's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place wherein thou standest is holy. And Joshua did so. Hey, whenever God comes on the scene, where he is holy. When you're in a worship service, in a church house, and God is on the scene, that's holy ground. Would I, say, Brother Peter, would you step up where the preacher preaches from? Not on your life. I've been invited up to pray, but I wouldn't step up behind that pulpit. When I stepped up to pray, I kept a lesser place than that holy ground up there. That's holy ground where that preacher stands. God has blessed that place for that preacher to stand in, and that's holy ground. And let me tell you something. When God comes to visit, you know it. If you're his child and he comes to visit, you know, Joshua knew it. Joshua knew this was God. He knew no other way could this be happening except God himself was visiting him like he did Moses. And then they conquested Canaan. They dwelt in Canaan after that. And they took the land over. And now Jericho was shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the place was cut off. And here they were now in the land of Canaan. And the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given unto thy hand Jericho and the king thereof and the mighty men of valor. Now Joshua had in his army the men of valor, and the king, by the way, was going to be destroyed later on. And they had compassed the city now, and Jericho was given to them before it was taken. It was given to them by the Lord of hosts. And it was fulfilled and finished. So the Lord said in verse 27 of chapter 6, was with Joshua, and his fame was noised throughout all the country. Joshua's fame was noised throughout all the country, but God's fame also was noised throughout the country. Hey, when God's on the scene, it will be noise. That's why I say, if you go into a town or a city, if you get saved and you want to find a church, a place to worship, you find a place that the people are talking against. The average person says, man, there are a bunch of crazies down there. They believe what they say and say what they believe, and they follow it, and they're all the time witnessing, going out here and doing this and doing that, and always something going on. That's where you want to go. You want to join that crowd. Join that crowd, and God will put his blessings on you more than likely. You'll be happy. I must go now. See you next time. Brother Peter, Tidbits from the Word. May God bless you. Bye.